it's Miss Christine, and today I'm going to read you a story called Alligator Baby. The story is by Robert Munsch. He's the author. Do you know what an author does? The author writes the words in the story, and it's illustrated by Michael Marchenko. Do you know what an illustrator does? They draw the pictures. Take a look at the cover. What do you see? You see a mom and a dad and their child. And what is that child pointing at? A baby alligator? Let's read the story and find out. One night, Kristen's mother woke up and yelled, "A baby! A baby! I'm having a baby!" There's the mom with her belly. She's going to have a baby. Kristen's father jumped up, zoomed around the room, got dressed, and grabbed Kristen's mother by the hand. They ran downstairs to the car and drove off really fast. Vroom! Unfortunately, they got lost. They didn't go to the hospital. They went to the zoo. But it was okay. Kristen's mother had a lovely baby. Then they drove home and knocked on the front door. Look at that. They're driving in the car. They got lost. They didn't go to the hospital. They went to the zoo, and she had her baby there. Kristen opened the door, and there was her mother, holding something all wrapped up. "Kristen," she said, "would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. So Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a long green tail and said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a green claw and said, "That's not a people claw." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a long green face with lots of teeth and said, "That's not people teeth. That's not a people's face. That's not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Take a look. There's the mom and the dad, so excited to show Kristen her new baby brother. But do you actually think that's Kristen's baby brother? Let's find out. Just then, the baby reached up and bit Kristen's mother's on the nose. She yelled, "Ow!" Then the baby reached up and bit her father's nose, and he yelled, "Ah!" "That's not people baby," said Kristen. "That's an alligator baby." "Goodness," said her mother, "we've gotten the wrong baby." Take a look. Is that a people baby? No, that's an alligator baby. And that alligator baby bit the mom on the nose and the dad. So Kristen put the alligator baby into the fish tank, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back an hour later and knocked on the door. Kristen opened the door, and her mother said, "Would you like to meet your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket, saw a fishy tail, and said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a flipper and said, "That's not a people flipper." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a face with whiskers, and said, "That's not a people's face. That's not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Does that look like her baby brother? Let's see. Just then, the baby reached up with its flippers and flapped the father in the face. Whop, 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 whop. He yelled, "Ah! It's a baby seal. We've gotten the wrong baby." So Kristen put the seal in the bathtub, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. They said, "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. She lifted up the bottom of the blanket and saw a very hairy tail and said, "That's not a people tail." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a very hairy arm and said, "That's not a people's arm." She lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a very hairy face, and said, "That's not a people face. That's not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous. What kind of animal do you think this is?" Right there. Whoa, look at in the back. Looks like that baby seal is having a lot of fun in that bathtub. Have you ever had a bubble bath? Those are fun. Look! Then the baby reached up with its feet and grabbed her mother's ears and father's ears, and they both yelled, "Ah! It's a gorilla baby. We've gotten the wrong baby." "Let me do it," said Kristen. So her mother and father put the gorilla baby on the chandelier in the living room, and Kristen went off to the zoo on her bicycle. Look at that baby gorilla hanging off of the mom and dad's ear. Is that Kristen's baby brother? No. Ooh, look at this. First, Kristen looked in the snake cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the womb cat cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the elephant cage. No people babies. Then she stopped and listened. From far away, she could hear, "Wah, wah, wah." "That's more like it," said Kristen. She followed the sound. It was coming from the gorilla cage. Do you think Kristen's gonna find her baby brother? Kristen looked at the mommy gorilla and said, "Give me my baby brother." The gorilla jumped away and wouldn't give the baby back. Look at that. The gorilla is holding Kristen's baby brother. Do you think the gorilla is going to give her the brother back? Let's find out. Then the people baby reached up and bit the gorilla on the nose. And the gorilla yelled, "Ah!" and handed the baby to Kristen. Kristen jumped on her bicycle and pedaled home. Look at their faces. How do you think they're feeling? The baby looks excited. Kristen knocked on the door. When her parents opened it, she said, "Would you like to meet your new baby?" Kristen's mother lifted up the bottom of the blanket and said, "Look, people's legs." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and said, "Look, people hands." She lifted up the top of the blanket and said, "Look, a people face." Kristen's mother picked up the baby and gave it a big hug. Her father took the baby and gave it a big hug too. And her mother said, Kristen, you got the baby back. Good for you. And look at the family. Look how excited they are to have the baby brother home. But what are we going to do with all these other babies? There is a baby seal in the bathtub, and an alligator baby in the fish tank, and a gorilla baby hanging from the chandelier. We should take them back to the zoo. But Kristen looked out the window and said, look at all the animals. What do you think they should do with all of them? Do you think they should go back to the zoo? Let's see what happens. Kristen said she looked out the window and seen something. Let's see. Uh-oh. I don't think we'll have to do any of that. Look who came to their house. The gorilla mama, and the alligator mama, and the seal mama. They want their babies back. And everything was okay until Kristen's mother had twins. And look at that, all the moms had their babies. The end. I hope you enjoyed Alligator Baby. See you next time, friends.